The Zacks rank, value, momentum, growth, and income all factor into Zacks rank buys.
We're going to do something just a little different now with the editor of our Income Investor Service, Ryan McQueeney. We're going to take a look at a couple of ETFs, and I'm going to just guess that they do have something to do with growth and income.
Yeah, definitely. The first one that we'll take a look at here, the iShares Global 100 ETF, trades under the ticker IOO. That one we hold in the Income Investor Portfolio Service. And then we'll also be looking at the iShares Dividend ETF, DVY, which is a very popular just kind of buy and hold dividend type of ETF. People like getting that payout from it. You know, I thought this would be a good day to discuss ETFs and indexes just because the indexes have been grabbing a lot of headlines this week. Monday, the shortened Christmas Eve trading session. One of the worst, I think the worst Christmas Eve in the history of the market, at least the U.S. market, and then come back from the holiday on Wednesday, and the Dow has its largest ever point gain in history as well. So we've broken some records here this week, and those indexes are grabbing some of the headlines. I thought let's check in on some funds. That being said, of course, you know, the Dow and the S&P are grabbing the headlines. These are two indexes maybe that are less tweet-worthy, if you will, but certainly still reflect this correction or bear market, dare I say it, that we've seen over the last couple of months. And considering we hold one in the income investor portfolio, I thought let's take a look at these things right now and see where we're at.
We're going to do that one first?
Yeah, we'll start with the IOO. And as we can see, the interesting thing about the Global 100 ETF is you're getting a little bit of that obviously international exposure, and you know, for a while that has been successful for us. We've had this synchronous global economic growth. You know, I think if there were any warning signs though of this correction from abroad, it would be that, you know, we've started to see some global economic slowdown, and we've started to see a lot of major economies have their own equities markets really suffer over the last several months as well. You know, IOO, obviously, some domestic companies in here as well. You're getting a little bit more of that international exposure, though.
You get
anyway,
100 large cap global companies,
yes,
right?
Indeed. As we can see from the year-to-date chart here, or excuse me, the last several month chart, I believe 6-month view, it looks a lot like we'd see with the S&P 500 or the Dow. We have this kind of half a bottom here in the summer as we're seeing some volatility, but really what we're seeing is kind of almost like a triple bottom form with the October low, the November low, and then our previous low here in early December, late November, and then that's when things just kind of fell off a cliff. As we can see, several really bad trading days in a row, and we think we find this bottom here with this Christmas Eve or this day after Christmas rally. You know, if you're checking your tickers this morning, if you're checking your indexes this morning, you see the global markets didn't really pick up where the U.S. markets left off yesterday, and you know, we came back to the office with a lower open again. Haven't quite shed all that record-breaking gains we saw yesterday, but doesn't necessarily look like, voila, that was definitely the bottom. You know, we still have questions here about the big buyers, and I think one thing that people are talking about this week is, well, are these going to be low volume trends? You know, a lot of people still on vacation, even today. You know, are we going to see less activity, and can we really know if that's going to be the new trend if it's a low volume move? Well, in the case of the IOO, it's actually a relatively low volume ETF to begin with, so maybe that doesn't reveal things for us. But as we can see, that selling was much higher volume than we typically see. Some of this on our volume chart here doesn't even show up, it's so low, because as I said, this is kind of a buy and hold thing. You know, wasn't our most active day. If we can see this little green blip down here, which was the rally, we saw busier days of selling, so you know, maybe that's a hint that indeed that low volume day wasn't a great indicator. I think if we move to the second chart here, which, let me just see if I can flip it.
Same ETF?
No, this is going to be the iShares Dividend ETF, which is, again, a popular kind of buy and hold play for a lot of investors, especially the ones I'm talking to every day, which is income-focused investors.
Sure.
I do want to mention with the IOO, you get a dividend yield of about 2.6%. The iShares Dividend ETF is yielding about 3.6% right now.
All right, not bad.
And the first thing I want to point out real quick is this volume pattern here in the month of December. We see the same exact thing with the kind of triple bottom and then that third bottom, we just blast right through it. Same type of pattern we're seeing on all the major indexes. Things through the summer a little bit smoother, obviously, for the DVY than we saw with IOO. But again, we do see some pretty heavy volume here, which is kind of the opposite of this storyline I was just playing out. One of the busiest volume days for DVY that we see on this chart, if not the busiest, is that rally. So that's a high volume trend to the upside, which, if you're just talking about, does this volume tell us anything about the direction, about whether this trend will stick, you'd think that's a positive sign. So now I'm comparing the two. Obviously, one has traditionally much lower volume, as we can see. You're still getting a pretty solid yield off of DVY right now. Thinking about the volume and the move that we saw the day after Christmas, it's not bad. But if anything, what I think my conclusion here would be is I don't think these two charts reveal the magic answer as to if the bottom that we saw on Christmas Eve is in fact going to hold up as the bottom that investors really take to. I don't necessarily think if you look at the S&P 500 chart or if you look at the Dow chart that you can clearly see that answer. Obviously, after one of the worst Decembers in market history and really just a frustrating past few months for a lot of Wall Street, you hope that that's the bottom, and you hope that that signals a place where we can rally into the new year and beyond in 2019. But off the most basic, and I'm not laying down trend lines here, I'm not putting moving averages on this thing, I'm just glancing at the chart and considering a lot of the factors that we've been discussing, still having uncertainties. I don't know if that basic glance really reveals anything right now.
Well, we're sitting here talking on December the 27th, you and I. We've got a few trading days left to the old year, and then we begin 2019. We'll see how it plays out. Unfortunately, it's only time that tells.
Yeah, and let me say this much, I've already gotten it wrong a couple times here. I'm passionately in the group of people who have been wrong. I thought there was a moment here in very early December where it seemed like we really bottomed off again right at that level we saw in October and November. A lot of chart watchers like to look for things they call double bottoms or triple bottoms when you see a really strong support at a certain level, and when you see that play out multiple times over the course of several months, it typically says, okay, that's kind of where traders are saying we're good on the selling right here.
Right.
Obviously, we had the Fed not moving as dovish as people had liked. That kind of blasted that floor away, and we flew right under it. And we'll see, I guess, if again this kind of two record-breaking days in different directions end up signaling any sort of bottom.
All right. Personally, do you own either of these two ETFs?
Not personally, no. But as I said, we have IOO in the income investor portfolio service right now.
All right. Don't forget, you can always check out more ETF information and stock information on our website, Zacks.com. Don't forget Ryan's Tech Talk Tuesday podcast, where he explores a lot of interesting ground with regard to technology. That's on the podcast page of Zacks.com. And he has his Monday through Thursday live streaming program, video program, Free Lunch. You can find that on most major video streaming services, platforms. With Ryan, I'm Terry Ruffalo.